Hello again, NPX here. Today I'm going to, considering it is Halloween week, it is October, I'm going to review two comedy horror movies or dark comedies. The first one I'll talk about is Shaun of the... Well, no, actually, the first one I'll talk about is Army of Darkness, and then I will talk about Shaun of the Dead. Well, Army of Darkness, if I remember correctly, Army of Darkness came out in 1992. Now, I don't remember... Yeah, it wasn't much of a hit, I think. It was kind of a sleeper hit. It's had more of a cult following afterwards, which I guess is kind of similar to the other movies. This Army of Darkness, of course, is the third Evil Dead movie, so sometimes it's known as Evil Dead 3. The first Evil Dead, I didn't really like it. I thought it was, I mean, some of it was just nasty. So yeah, but the second one I enjoyed, or I liked better, because it was more of a comedy, or I guess a dark comedy, but it still had the horror elements. In general, I don't really like horror movies, but I'll explain that at maybe some point in the future why I don't typically like horror movies. But anyway, it isn't because I'm scared of them. But anyway, Army of Darkness is the third one, as I said. Well, let me set up in describing this particular movie. Well, in Army of Darkness, the character of Ash, played by the great Bruce Campbell, hilarious guy. He's in a cabin in the woods. There's the discovery of the Necronomicon, or the Book of the Dead. And the Necronomicon comes from H.P. Lovecraft. He came up with that whole concept. But anyway, the Book of the Dead, there's demonic forces, or I guess evil dead, whatever, that are resurrected. At one point he's possessed entirely. At another point his hand is possessed. And there's a funny scene where he's in the cabin in the kitchen where the hand is messing with him and hitting him over the head with dishes, and it's hilarious. And then at one point he decides to cut it off. And then the hand flicks him off and just messes with him and stuff, and I find it hilarious. And that is, I believe, the first place that he says the famous, or I regard as famous phrase or word, groovy, which I often say to people. And then, of course, after saying that, they typically go, were you born in the 70s? And then I explain that I got it from the character of Ash. Well, anyway, so there's that. Well, at the end of the movie, he goes through a portal and he goes into the Middle Ages. Well, there's kind of a different ending of that movie, and it's like he's immediately praised by the people. That's different in this movie. He's captured, he breaks free, he asserts himself, he goes and gets the book because he wants to go back to his time. He goes off to get the book, and he's supposed to remember a phrase, which I am now blanking on. But there's a funny... The phrase actually comes from and I'm speaking of the original, not the remake, which I have no interest in seeing, The Day the Earth Stood Still. There was a phrase that was spoken in order to shut the robot off. Well, that's the phrase that he is supposed to say in order to pick up the book and not resurrect the dead. Well, he says it wrong. He messes up. It's actually, I think it's Klaatu, Varakta, and Niktu, or something like that. And I'm blanking on the last word. Well, he doesn't know it, and he's like, "Oh, I know it's an N-word." And he says it something like that. Looks around, and then he gets the book. Well, before that, he messes with books, and he gets all messed up and stuff. There's like 3 books. He finally gets the right one. Well, after he resurrects them, he gets messed with the skeletons and the place, the village, or I guess in the cemetery that he's in. And it's funny. And he eventually battles them, and he eventually gets back to the future, back to his time and stuff. And I just totally summed it up, perhaps in a bad way, but anyway, it is a hilarious movie. There is just a quotable movie like crazy. I quote it like crazy. There's a line in there where he says, "Give me some sugar, baby." Well, In all honesty, I would love to say that at the altar when I get married, if that happens. I probably won't, more than likely, but I would like to say it at some point to my future wife. I mean, yeah, cheesy, fine. I'm a dork. I'm okay with that. But yeah, it is a great movie, and yeah, I keep looking at it for some reason. But anyway, that is Army of Darkness. See it. It's hilarious. It's a classic, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, there's that one. Then there is Shaun of the Dead. Now this one, I will say right off the bat, there is language, and it is a lot gorier than Army of Darkness. It is hilarious, though. Simon Pegg, people may recognize, of course. I mean, if you're not already aware of this, at least you'll recognize him from the latest Star Trek movie where he plays Scotty. He's just hilarious. Simon Pegg is hilarious. Well, the movie, and I won't bother summing it up, just see it. It's hilarious. I mean, it basically is a mock of Dawn of the Dead, hence Shaun of the Dead, and he fights zombies. And yeah, it's hilarious. It is a funny movie. I highly recommend it. Of course, as I said, because of the the language and the gruesomeness of parts of it. Yeah, it's not a kids movie. I mean, neither is Army of Darkness. These are dark comedies. But I recommend that you see both of them, if quite possible. Do it this month, in reference to Halloween. But I mean, these are great movies. I highly recommend them. And yeah, until next time, this has been NPX. Later.